Raise your hand if you want to be more authentically expressed. I think that I hear this. This is like the number one thing that I hear from people. I just want to be comfortable being me. I just want to be able to be myself. I want to be able to feel okay in my own skin. So if these are things that you've heard yourself say too, then this training is definitely for you today, because that's exactly what we're going to dive into, what it takes to be authentically you. So hi, I'm Debbie Lichter, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy, where it is my absolute honor to help women to live free from food or whatever addictions are holding them back, to be authentic and to authentically shine their light. And today I'm actually tuning in from the big island of Hawaii. As you can see behind me here and the reflection here, this gorgeous, beautiful ocean. And it's so symbolic actually being on this island and talking about how to be authentically you, or what it takes to truly be authentically you. Because I don't know if you know this about the Big Island, but the Big Island is actively forming. The land is actively forming as we speak. It's an active volcano here on this island that if you go to the other side of the island, you might actually walk into lava rock, like the volcano is active and it is currently spewing lava rock that spills out, that is forming land. And what's so powerful about that is that the lava is butting up right up against the jungle. And so it's this incredible, just potent energy of life and death and rebirth and renewal. And this is the very conversation that I want to bring to our discussion today about what it means to truly be authentically you and what it takes to do that. So, before we dive into all of that, I just want to share why this topic is of such interest to me, because I feel like I lived most of my life being completely inauthentic. And I wouldn't have known that overtly. I wouldn't have called myself out on that. But here's what I did notice about myself. I felt like I was leading a double life. I felt like there was this person that people knew on the outside, this bright, shiny, smiley person on the outside. And then there was this whole other reality for me internally. There was this whole way that I beat myself up. There's this whole relationship I had with food. There's this whole relationship I had with stimulants, with caffeine, with chocolate, with so many different things, with work, with attention, with relationships. I mean, there were so many things I was hiding behind the scenes, and I felt like I was constantly holding back in my life. So I just want you to just take a breath into that. Just feel in for yourself. Do you feel like you, at some level in your own life, are kind of hiding and holding back? Do you feel like you're living somewhat, I'm kind of blown away here in the wind, that you're somewhat living inauthentically in your life, that you are leading a double life in some way, or that there's sort of a character that you play when you're in certain environments, like at work or with your family, and there's this other part of you, this sort of real part of you that some people in your life just don't ever get to see. If you relate to that, then just know that you're not alone, because this is what I find is up for most of the people in the world. And definitely if you struggle with any kind of addiction or obsession or self-sabotaging pattern, this is a huge, huge theme that shows up for us. And so, what I want to speak into today are what I've discovered on my own path of what it takes to truly come home to your authentic self, so you can just be you. You can shine your light from that deep place, and you can interact with the world without feeling like you have to be something in order to be accepted, or in order to be okay, or in order for others to like you. That you just get to be you. There's so much ease and freedom and comfort that happens when you're able to just exhale and be yourself. And I would say that in this journey over the years of coming to this place myself, I've discovered a few things that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit. I've really, really discovered, and one of the tips or one of the tools that I want to leave with you today is something that I'll speak about in just a minute, about some of the ways that I've discovered, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually me being authentically me. This is what this looks like. I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to talk about this first piece. And the first piece is to let whatever is not you die. Let whatever is not authentically you die. So again, I mentioned that I am on the Big Island. I mentioned that I am on an island that is actively forming, that is actively in creation as we speak. But the very nature of the lava is that as the lava spills forth, it kills everything around it. So there's this beautiful synergy of death and life and rebirth and renewal, and where one thing ends, the other begins. And so I bring that to you today, to this conversation of authenticity, of what in your life, what in the ways that you've been showing up, what do you know deep down, what is your gut telling you is a pattern that needs to die? Is it your people pleasing? Is it your saying yes when you mean no? Is it your perfectionism? Is it your procrastination? Is it your judgment at yourself, the way that you are so mean and critical to yourself in your own head? Is it the ways that you feel really victimized, or feel full of self-pity, or feel really entitled? That's not fair. I should have this. Look at those people. They have this. What's wrong? Why don't I get this? It's so important to look at the things, because what happens is that we actually identify so strongly with our beliefs and our story and the delusions and the things and the thoughts that are running around in our head, that we are continuously defining and redefining ourselves by these things. Well, we can't get back to the true authentic self if we keep on telling ourselves the story of who we are. Something has to give. And what has to give is that we have to be willing to set aside our story of who we think we are, of how we think it is, of what we think it's like, of what we think we need, and of what we think is possible. We have to be willing to step outside of the story. I do this practically every single day. I say a prayer, and for me, prayer isn't a religious thing. It's like an authentic ask from divine power, from power that is greater than myself, to say, please help me to do what I cannot do in this moment. I cannot, on my own, I cannot stop telling myself the same story. Please help me to have a new experience of myself and this life. Please help me to learn and uncover and discover who I get to be in this moment, who I get to be today. It's such a powerful place to be. It's vulnerable. It's very, very vulnerable, because sometimes us sort of knowing what we think we know is a way of feeling a sense of power in a world that sometimes feels out of control. It's a way of feeling in control. And yet if we can recognize that our attempt to feel in control in a world that we perceive as out of control is actually, that whole pattern, that whole paradigm is actually blocking us from the very sense of ease and authentic expression that we seek. Something needs to give. And what I'm inviting you into with this first key is that what needs to give are all the things that you think and all the things that you believe, and setting it all aside so that you can start to learn who you are, discover who you are in this moment. Whew. So just take a breath into that. And a great way to start with that, is to really feel into, what am I feeling? What am I sensing right now? Getting connected inside of your sensory experience. not in the story about what you're feeling and what that means and who did what and all that stuff, but like, what am I feeling? What's happening for me in this present moment? What do I desire? What's moving in me? What am I feeling moved into action to do? What am I inspired to do in this moment? These are some ways that we can start to really deepen into ourselves, into our authentic way of being. And sometimes we're not very clear in the moment. And so sometimes it's about getting quiet and pausing and just checking in and being quiet with ourselves and listening for something to emerge. Not trying to, fill space with doing all the time, but actually giving ourselves space to explore and to come into ourselves, to come into, oh, this is what is feeling resonant for me right now. A few minutes ago, it was feeling resonant for me to go on a walk. Now it's feeling resonant for me to sit down here with you and to share these tools with you that have been so useful in my life. Becoming present to that moment by moment unfolding of what is expressing itself in you. Such a powerful way to connect to your authentic self. Okay, so that's just the first tool. We've got 2 more tools. So I want to know if you're getting something out of this. If you are, please post a little comment below and share what your biggest takeaway is so far. Put a little thumbs up if you'd like to do that as well. I'd love to know what is landing for you here. Okay, so number 2, this is so great, big, huge. This is what I was sharing a little bit ago. I'm like, I'm going to share with you in a moment about this this thing that I really realized, and this is become unapologetic. Become unapologetic about who you are and about what you like, about what you're about. This was a really, really big learning curve for me because I had some things about my character that I was a little bit embarrassed to admit, a little bit ashamed to admit, like the fact that I love affluence. I love walking in nice neighborhoods. I feel at home. I love nice things. I do. And there was a part of me that felt so snobby for saying that and admitting it to myself. But it's so true for me. I just love nice things. I love high quality things. I love expensive things. Doesn't mean that everything that I own or I have is expensive, but I just appreciate fine things. I also am not a camper. I'm not an adventure sports person. This was a huge thing that I, for many years, tried to kind of make myself. I was just sharing with some friends. We were driving on the island here, and we were sharing about relationships and about codependent relationships and things like that, and about kind of, fitting yourself to kind of be who you think other people want you to be or need you to be, kind of square peg, round hole type stuff. And I was sharing the story about how some years ago, oh my gosh, over 10 years ago, I think. Yeah, oh my gosh. So I started dating this guy who I was really interested in. And on paper, we looked like a really good match. And I remember, so one of the things about me is that, and I love walking on the beach. I love having a view of the beach. I love seeing the beach. Right now I can see the beach. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I don't like swimming in the beach. I don't like swimming in the water. I'm not a water person. I've never been a water person. I might go in a pool, but I'm really not like a water person, certainly not a water sport person. But some years ago, when I was dating this man and I really wanted it to work out, he was talking about how he's really into water sports. And he goes, yeah, so I like to get out, every weekend and I kind of water ski and I go do this and I love to, wind sail. I can't remember parasail. I can't remember what the terminology is. And he goes, are you into water sports? And my answer, promise you, I'm so embarrassed. My answer was, I can be. That's what I said. I can be. That was where I was operating at. And bless myself at that time and space that's what came out. But, can we unapologetically stand in, no, I'm not into that, actually. I'm really not. I love that you're into that, and I'm not. Can I stand in the fact that I don't want to have kids? I have stood in that recently. I'm going to be 42 in a week from now. And I get asked all the time, do I have kids? When am I having kids? And I'm like, when I actually fully took that stand, I don't want kids. It was like, oh my gosh. And then my fear of, well, how can I meet a partner who doesn't also want, I just had this whole story. Well, I met a partner who also doesn't want kids. We're creating this incredible life together. But this is something I had to get really clear about. I'm a total cat person. I feel like I was a cat in a former life. What are your idiosyncrasies? What are the unique things about you? What are the things about you that you're like, ooh, this might actually make people kind of crunchy around me? Like for me to say, I just told my girlfriend who literally spent her birthday in meditation in a cave, barefoot, with a couple of other people, like that's what she really wanted to do. And so I'm going on this walk with her yesterday, and I said, yeah, I just really have to admit, I love affluence. I love walking through nice neighborhoods. I feel really at home there. I love wealth. I love it. And she's just giggling at me, and I'm like, I'm just standing in that, and she loves me more for it, I think. But can you do that? Can you be unapologetic about who you are, about what you like, and let that be okay? Even if some of the qualities that you have are qualities that you think other people might judge, trust me, every single quality I just mentioned is like has a whole stereotype to it, a whole story, a whole judgment around it. And for today, that's just me. Oh, another really big, great big, huge one that I've had to take full responsibility for. I am really high maintenance at restaurants, but I'm nice about it. But I'm like, I have a lot of special requests. And I spoke with my partner about it. I'm like, babe, this is how it is. And he's like, look, as long as you're polite and nice, do what you need to do. And I do. And I make lots of special requests. And I don't have this like stickiness about it where I'm like, oh my God, I don't want them to judge me. And like, I just sort of say like, hey, here, like, is this possible? I don't want to insult the chef. Is it possible to do this? And I'm always met with like, yeah, let's see what we can do for you. It's great. It's wonderful. There's no stickiness about it. I'm able to get what I need, and we tip them very, very generously, and everyone's happy. So that is number 2, is to be unapologetic about who you are. And I'd love to know what some of your idiosyncratic qualities are, what some of those things are that you have a tendency to sort of downplay because you think that they are just not very approving, that people won't approve of them. We want to know what those are. Okay, so that's number 2. And number 3, one of my favorite words in the world, congruence. Calibrate towards congruence. So how to be authentically you? You've got to continue to calibrate towards congruence. What do I mean by that? Calibrating towards congruence. To understand that, we've got to first understand what congruence means, right? So congruence is when your head and your heart and your gut are all in alignment. They're all in harmony. They're all on the same page. That means that what you think, how you feel, and the way that you act are all syncing up together. This is so vital. I was just speaking with a client earlier today, and she said, the words coming out of my mouth were not matching the actions that I was showing up with. I said, that is case in point, incongruence right there. And you can feel it. You can feel it inside of yourself. It's like this feeling of like disharmony, of inner conflict going on inside of yourself. You can feel that stuff. It doesn't feel good. And this is so, so important, because when we are living congruently, when I have a gut desire to do something and my heart aligns with that and I follow through with it and I take the action to do it, even if I might be scared, I take the action anyway, there's an exponential experience of fulfillment, of joy, of feeling so comfortable in your own skin, feeling like, oh my gosh, everything makes sense. I don't need anything outside of myself. I feel so full with inside of myself, like something so powerful lands inside of you. And it happens when we take that congruent action. And conversely, when we take an action that is incongruent, like if you have a feeling, if you just got your feelings hurt, for example, but you don't want to speak up because you don't want to offend somebody else or create conflict or confront. And so what happens is that instead of speaking up, you shut down, you stuff. Okay? What's happening right there is that your head just said, no. It's not safe for you to speak up because you're going to offend, you're going to disappoint, you're going to make upset in the world. We can't do that because we've got a fear that if this person doesn't like you, they're going to reject you, or you're going to be unlovable, or it means that you're bad, or it means that you have to deal with uncomfortable feelings and awkwardness, and nobody wants that. And so we're going to make a snap decision, a quick decision, that we're not going to do that. And so what happens? Your throat shuts down, your heart shuts down, you close it off, right? I can't feel this, and you stuff. You stuff those feelings down, making yourself wrong, making yourself bad, shutting down your own gut instinct of like, no, my gut is telling me it's time to speak up and to speak my truth and to share that this didn't work for me. But nope, we're shutting all that down. When we shut all of that down, imagine what that does to our access to our own inner guidance. Imagine what that does to our access to our authentic expression. Imagine what that does to our access to our own bodies. When we're saying, nope, body, I'm going to ignore your cues. Nope, authentic expression, I'm going to shut you down. Nope, inner guidance, you're telling me that I need to be truthful here, but I'm going to do something different here because my fear is overriding everything else. This is what has us fall into patterns of addictions and obsessions and self-sabotaging patterns and holding back and playing small and feeling like we're moving through life, going through the motions of life, but not really feeling alive in it. This is it, case and point. So, when I tell you it is vital for you to calibrate to congruence, this is what I'm talking about. If you truly, truly want to be on a path, if you want to embody the path of authentic expression, then it's all about calibrating to deeper and deeper levels of congruence and refinement and refinement and discernment and refinement and coming back into more deeper levels of congruence. This is what the journey is. This is what I guide women through in the Freedom Embodied Academy. Women come in because they're like, I want freedom around my food addiction or my obsession addiction or my love addiction or whatever it is. And what they find is, oh, I thought it was that, but actually I'm on a deep path to come home to my authentic self, to come home inside of my body, to regain access to my inner guidance, to feel that internal ease and harmony and connection and alignment. Because when I have that, I feel comfortable in my own skin. When I have that, I can just be me in the world. When I have that, I can authentically shine my light. This is what we're talking about. Can you pick it up? Can you hear me? Are you with me? If you're with me, I want to get a heart or a little thumbs up, or just say, yeah, Deb, I am with you. I am into it. I am on it. I hear you, and I'm called forward into that. That inspires me. I want that. I want that. And so some of you are a fit for the Freedom Embodied Academy, and if you are, then we should have a conversation about that. And so I will leave you with a little bit in just a moment about how you can book some time with me and we can decide if this is the right move for you. And for some of you, it's not the right fit. And that's perfectly okay. And so I want to support you with one tool that can help you in calibrating towards congruence that you can use anytime, anywhere. There's so many tools that I could pick from right now. I'm going to pick one tool. And that tool is the tool of honesty. In any given moment, you can ask that deep, wise place inside of yourself, where do I need to get honest? And when you ask that deep, wise place inside of yourself, where do I need to get honest? It will start to speak to you. And then I invite you into tool number 2, which is set aside your judgment and your story about what comes through to you. Remember, it's the story that we're telling ourselves that's keeping us blocked from the true authentic expression that we're wanting to experience. So set aside the story, set aside the judgment, have some humility here. And humility means openness to just get real with what is in this moment without the story. That is the truest expression of honesty. Your inner guidance. I was just leading a call in the Freedom Embodied Academy yesterday, and one of the ladies modeled this so beautifully, where we were talking about, great, well, how have you been applying these principles? And everyone was sharing, and there was all this incredible stuff. And then where are some areas of growth for you? And this beautiful woman spoke into it so clearly, and she just said, oh, I can identify this dynamic happening in my relationships. I can see this going on right here, and I can feel what happens inside of me, and I can hear the story that I'm telling myself around this. I know something needs to change with this dynamic. My guidance, my inner guidance is telling me something needs to change with this dynamic. It's not working. So powerful to admit that to yourself. It's so, so powerful, because when we can admit that to ourselves without judgment, with humility, with openness, with a willingness, then it's an invitation of, what's the next step? What's the next aligned, authentic step that I can take in the direction towards congruence? And sometimes it's just baby step by baby step that can guide us towards that congruent path. So, for those of you who feel, gosh, I want more, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I want to go deeper. I want to say to you, I want to go deeper too. I want to go deeper too. So if that's something that you want to do, then schedule some time with me. Grab a spot on my calendar. You can actually go to my personal calendar. Go to the link connectwithdeb.today. Connectwithdeb.today. It'll pull up my personal calendar. You can grab a spot. I think it's 20-minute spots, a complimentary spot for you to grab some time on my calendar. When you set up your appointment, there's going to be a drop-down menu and an option for you to choose the category of call that it is. So if you're struggling with your relationship with food, then you put freedom clarity call, addiction clarity call, congruence. I think there's a couple different options there. I even have one for my jewelry, for my adornment alchemy. There's lots of options there. Grab some time on my calendar. Make sure to fill out the short assessment that will help us get more out of our time together. And gosh, it's just such an honor to be here with you. I am so, so excited for your path of continuing this journey of congruence, of alignment, and of deeply, deeply, deeply coming home to your authentic self. So thank you for taking this time out, sharing it with me. I am so honored. And I will connect more with you very, very soon. Bye for now. Mwah.